Good morning and welcome to Touchbase Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm here with my partner in crime, Chris Edwards.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. So there's a lot in the news that happened since we last chatted because we haven't chatted in
Yes.
a week,
Yeah. Well, man, it
which
has
is
been a week.
highly. It's been a week and it's highly unusual. But yes, so much is going on. Kamala is really doing her thing.
Yes, she is.
I don't
She
know.
is.
While you were away? Were you watching any of her interviews or?
Yeah. So I've paid attention to everything that's been going on. So I saw the Fox. Well, I saw the Fox interview.
Mhm.
I heard about the Breakfast Club interview. The one that she did. Who else did she do one with?
She
I'm
did
just trying to think.
Charlemagne.
What?
Charlemagne.
Yeah.
She did Fox last night.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
did The View. She
So that one
did.
last week.
You saw that one last week.
Yeah.
She did also
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. She also did the girl
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was last week
And
too.
she did also it was another podcast she did
Listen,
this
she's been
week.
everywhere.
She did
And
Colbert. Was it Colbert?
Yeah, Colbert. Uh, what's the name of the show?
Yeah,
Late
and
night,
not
late
late
night,
night,
late night,
late
late
night.
night.
So she
Yeah,
did that. She also, what else has she been doing? She's been on the roll and she has more to go.
yeah.
And a lot
And
of
of
people
course, they're
criticize.
finding something to complain about. Oh, why is she doing all these talk shows and she's combative? Oh, I loved one of her responses to Charlemagne where he was just like, you're repeating yourself, something like that. She was just like, I forget.
Yes, he
I forget the
said.
exact word she used, but basically she was just like she was emphasizing, and it was something else.
I'll
Oh
tell
man,
you what she said. She goes, as he was saying it, because he was getting ready to go through. Why do you people are criticizing why you repeat things over and over again? And she says that's called discipline.
yes, that's what the word she used, and I love that response because you know
That's
what?
called discipline.
Why here? Let me ask this question to the entire audience. Why is it that, as a black woman, you always have to be challenged on every single thing you can
Everything.
do, say, and how you look? And then on top of it, I mean, here's a man that is rambling, dancing, having dance concerts at his rallies for 40 minutes, and he's not being challenged. It's asinine. It's asinine. This woman is highly educated, highly qualified, and he's a bumbling buffoon.
She's the
There's no
highest
comparison.
qualified person to ever in the last 2 centuries, or to say the last the 21st century and the 20th century, to be qualified for presidency. She has more experience, and she's the only candidate that has experience in all three. I think it's all three, not branches of government, but three categories, meaning law, as in being a
Yeah,
prosecutor,
yeah.
being a vice president,
Being in the
being
Senate,
in the Senate. Yeah, so she has
yeah.
all those divisions that she's been
She has
working.
foreign policy, being vice president. I mean, she
Yes,
literally has every qualification,
every
whereas
qualification.
this jackass can't even say his name properly. I don't know if you watched The View. And this is making fun, but Anna Navarra, one of the co-hosts,
I love
made
Anna.
fun of him the fact that his team can't even blend his makeup. 'Cause, I mean,
Oh,
it's
his
just like
makeup is
the
horrible.
hard line of
Yes,
bronzer
it
and
is
this pale
horrible.
white man. He has not released his medical records. He has not released his taxes ever. He is the most unfit, unhealthy, and unworthy person to ever serve in the office.
So anyway, we have some people that have come into the building, and while we're going through the hellos, I would like to know what you're drinking this morning. So put in the chat what you're drinking. Water.
H2O.
I am drinking my mushroom coffee. Getting into the habit of doing that. And let's say good morning to Chris. Chris is the first person. She gets
Yeah.
the gold. Chris R. She says good morning. And Anthony Roland is next. He says good morning. And he says, I shot the full moon last night, but missed
Yes, it was a full
this
moon.
morning. Well, I did not get the moon last night, but I got the hunter moon this morning. So for all those that are moon watchers, and the moon was huge. It was a super moon.
Yeah.
And Aya goes in with the bronze, says grand rising, everyone. Happy harvest moon. It's harvest time, y'all. And we have Mr. B in the building, Mr. Brian Young. Happy Friday Eve, fam. And Hannah's in the building. Good morning, Ron and Chris and RLP family. And Jazzy
Good
Jazz
morning.
in the building. Good morning, beautiful people. Gwendolyn is in the building, and she is in the building. Good morning. Good Miss G is
Good
in
morning.
the building. She says good morning. And we got Bryson. I always got to take a drink before I say Bryson's statement. Okay, there we go. That was nice. What's up, Ron? What's up, Chris? What's up, RLP fam? What's up, CQ fam? Happy Law and Order Thursdays. One more
Yes.
day before the weekend. And then we have Jazzy said Kamala is killing it. She's
She
killing
is.
it.
She is.
Bryson says, "What's up, Hannah? Hannah, good morning. I see all the exchange of love and between y'all. Hey, Derek is in the building. Mr. DT is in the building, and Adrian, New York City, is in the building. Good morning. And yes, my voice is raspy. If you have not noticed, it's still raspy. I have my physical today, so we're gonna find out what's going on." Elise is in the building. Good morning, she says. Good morning, Ron and Chris. And we have Charlene Satterfield is in the building. She says, good morning. And let's bring up our ladies. Ladies, bring them up. Bring them up, Charlene. I'm going to let you go off the screen. Here's Miss G and Miss Elise. Oh, somewhere I hear myself in the background. Somebody needs to turn down their background radio.
That was me.
There you are. How are you ladies doing?
Radio.
I didn't know I was on the screen.
I know, background radio. So what's going on, ladies?
Well, can I just answer Chris's question real quick?
Yes.
And I don't want to kick the hornet's nest, but Ron, you know how I do.
Kick
Go
it,
ahead.
girl.
Kick away. Kick it with your high heel shoes.
And I've told Ron this 1,000 times. Women have to work hard just because, right? But then as a Black woman, we are always doing things that are so far and beyond. We are always like kicking down the doors, setting the standards, doing more than what's asked, which is why I never believe that any Black woman could ever experience imposter syndrome when we are setting the goddamn bar. Okay. Right? So we know that you can be mediocre and even less than mediocre, and yet and still there is somebody who's like, I just can't believe that she's that intelligent. It's just not possible. Yeah, right. So yeah, Kamala is doing her thing as she has been for a very long time,
since 2005.
Even, and I didn't watch the Fox thing. I watched clips because I don't have that kind of patience. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to keep myself together. Real talk. But the way that she was treated is how we are treated again every day in the workplace. I think you're angry. It seems like you have some sort of attitude. I don't understand why you can't cut it out. Cut all of it out.
She came in
loaded. She came in fire. I would have cussed somebody out a long time ago.
Yeah. I was like, yo, but she did her job. He tried to sack her several times. He came in trying to create mess. Like his how many people did you release into the country? I sat there, I was like, man.
Let me tell you something.
All the codes, all those codes.
We just need one opportunity. Forgive me for about saying about to say this, but we just need one opportunity to kick somebody's ass. Seriously, this like I think they need a public beatdown to keep that asses quiet. Excuse me, Ron. I'm so tired of these people. I am so tired of it.
It is absolutely absurd, and you sit there and you go, what is? And then when he came to her and said, well, if everyone is so against Trump, why are so many people voting for him? Why is he ahead? Which is not
They're not
true.
paying attention. They're not paying attention.
And I see, my question would be, I would have said, my answer is because they're listening to Fox.
That part.
I don't even know if that's the answer. I mean, okay, so everybody keeps asking her that question. First of all, she's correct. It is a presidential race. It should not be a cakewalk.
Yes.
We would hope that our person that we're backing is the one that everybody backs. So I get like the mindset, but it's not supposed to be easy. But also too, what she and everybody can't say is that at the core of why they're going for him, nobody can say that. I mean, we could. Nobody wants to say
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Because they're racist.
Maybe it's a little bit of the bigotry. I don't know. It could be the hatred. I don't know. It could be the racism, sexism, misogyny. I don't know. Pick one. You tell me.
It's all of the above.
Yes.
All of the above.
The answer is D, all the above.
D, yes. All
I
of
don't
the
know if you all
above.
got a chance to look at the clip I put in the chat this morning, but it shows how Fox edited what they put on there with Kamala to cut out the front part where he talked about exactly what she said. Enemy within. It was, he said that prior to the part that they showed you.
Yes, yes.
So I posted it. It's in that chat. It's the guy, they captured the video, but I don't know why Fox doesn't think people recorded it, because it's been so lopsided, but they actually recorded it and they posted it.
He said it
to see the beginning.
He said exactly what she was saying while he was being interviewed on Fox with the black woman, Miss Falk, whatever her name is.
Right. And they just went straight to the end of that comment.
Yeah.
Because that part that they showed when he was interviewing Kamala
was
at the end of that comment after he talked about Pelosi, he talked about all of those
the
enemies within, but you get on there and you alter a clip, which means you basically lie.
Yes.
And try to trap her with that. I think like she's masterful. I said it before. I said it on the show yesterday. She is not intimidated by these people.
No. I love it. Somebody says while they were the commentators were looking at her interview on Charlemagne.
Yeah,
I think it was Charlemagne.
Yes,
and they said she has gone in. I guess it's a slang. She went in her bag.
Yes,
she like dug in her bag, and she really gave. I mean, she was on top of it.
She shows her training.
Yes.
In these interviews. And when Charlemagne started out and he said, well, there's so many people that say you repeat what you said, and she said that's called discipline.
Yeah, I love when she
that was the line right there.
That was the best line.
Yeah. Because I mean, when you really think about it, that's exactly what it is. And people need to understand that. Like, why? And then the other thing too is like, why are you trying to come for me? Don't come for me until I ask you to. How about that?
Don't come for me
unless I call.
Unless I call. But that was so. I mean, did anyone see the Fox interview out in the community? Has anyone seen it? And
I don't waste my time on Fox. I got more important things to do.
I did watch. I watched that, and I watched the Charlemagne. And I just felt like I said, this is, even if Kamala changes 1% of the Fox audience, 1%, that's all she has to do is change the minds or make them consider and get in that booth and pause.
Yeah. And
she can get 1%.
And the good part was, this comes on the heels of of 45
Yes.
not wanting to sit with 60
Yeah.
minutes.
Yes.
And she
That's
was
a
willing
great
to
point,
go
Elise.
definitely walk into the enemy's camp
Well,
and
that,
sit
and that's the
down
thing.
and was able to hold her own. That man was speechless after she finished that. He was
Yes,
like,
he
okay,
was.
so the next question, because he knew she caught him. He knew that.
Well, the thing is, to run an effective campaign, you have to be willing to talk to everyone. As she says, I'm not just a candidate for the Democrats. I'm a candidate for all Americans. Her going into the Lions, quote unquote, Lions Den and speaking on platforms in which mostly Trump supporters are, she's allowing herself to be heard, whereas he's not doing that.
Yeah.
And that's where he's losing. And then when you
I
start to, and we talked about in the very beginning, when you're getting on stage at a rally and you're literally, instead of taking questions, because he was supposed to be doing a town hall,
yes.
Right.
and just taking questions from his own people, he decided, no more questions. Let's just dance.
Yeah. No more questions. No more
He
questions.
really had a dance party for 40 something
And it
minutes.
wasn't even a dance. He just rocked back and forth.
You know he
That was-
can't dance.
it was ridiculous.
And no one says anything.
He can't
These
dance.
people on the stage are like ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and no one's talking about it. That's the problem. The media's
Right.
not talking about it.
Absolutely.
That's the stuff that needs to be talked about. This man is incoherent. There's mental and physical decline going on there on a daily basis,
Right.
and it's visible, and no one is saying anything about it. It's like, do you not see what I see? Like, I'm seeing this. Do you see it?
But may I add one more thing to that, Chris? Because and this is on a bigger scale, and this is just where we are. There is it takes a lot to watch anything and participate in something and check your biases.
Mm-hmm.
Like know when you're going into a situation that I have the horse that I'm backing, but if this other horse is looking really good, I'm going to say, man, that horse is looking pretty good over there, right? A lot of us have a hard time checking our biases and being honest that this other person actually is, more qualified, what have you. The second part, though, is this country, this patriarchal setup, that women aren't supposed to lead, that women don't have what it takes to make the hard decisions, that women can't operate in a man's place. We are asking, again, a lot of people to let go of the lies they have been told since they were wee ones. A lot.
And as
for
we
some
had
people, it's hard. Even on the Breakfast Club, the way that some of these Black men, just men in general, come for women in terms of asking questions, doing a job interview, anything, there is a certain level of disgust that maybe they don't pick up on that we're used to receiving.
Yeah.
And so we're asking America to do a lot of things that other countries have already done. They're like, look, women that can actually go into a place and make a decision and not get in their feelings. It's not a pissing contest for us.
That's right.
We can get the work done.
Exactly.
It's like my buddy, he was addressing on his Instagram or maybe it was TikTok. And he was saying that one of the people said, "Oh, I'm worried if Kamala is president that the world won't respect her because she's a woman."
That's such bullshit.
That's crazy.
And he came back, he said, if maybe you want to look at the rest of the world, because America is behind.
Yes.
Because most countries have a woman prime minister or have had one. And they've been having them for at least 2 or 3 decades. Look at Margaret Thatcher. Look at the Prime Minister of Australia. Look at the Prime Minister of Mexico that was just elected. Look at the Prime Minister of Barbados. Look at the woman Chancellor of Germany all those years.
Right.
Look at so women around the globe have been leading with no problem and with no lack of respect.
And
everyone respects.
The one from New Zealand that had young children.
Yes.
Who led them through the pandemic.
Here's something also. I mean, when you really look at it, and I'm just going to look at the Black family. It's women who are managing the Black family.
It's women.
Not only are they mothers, They are breadwinners. They go out there and they're working, one job, two jobs, three jobs, and still being able to come home, cook, and manage an entire family and finances. Come on now. We all know what time it is when it comes to a black woman. So a black woman doing this job, I'm not saying that it's easy, but she got this in the bag. She's been doing it her entire life. Black women have been doing this their entire life, and even during slavery, guess what? They were taking care of their kids. They was working out in the fields and taking care of your white kids too. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the gall, as they say, because to say and again, Kamala is the most qualified candidate we've had in office in generations, like almost 2 centuries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's saying a whole lot. I mean, most of the men, the white men, or most of them, because they're all white men. This is not being racist. They're mostly white men. The only one that's different is Obama.
Yeah,
and she's even more qualified than Obama was.
Oh yeah,
she's more qualified than Obama was when he ran for office.
Yeah, because Obama was a young senator. She has so much more experience than he did coming into this.
Yeah.
The woman has been on the world stage, and not only that, she's been the vice president of one of the most historical presidents in American history.
Yep. Absolutely. I want to add something to what Gwendolyn was said about people. One of the things about people too, they have a hard time admitting when they're wrong. Right. And the embarrassment that goes along with, I supported that. There are a few people talking about it, but they don't want to admit that they're wrong. And even when you see them being interviewed and they have no idea what they're responding to or what these things mean that they say they oppose. They cannot admit that they're backing the wrong horse because out of embarrassment or whatever, they don't want to admit it. And I think that's a lot of what people struggle with in addition to everything else.
But there's nothing wrong with being wrong or admitting to it. I mean, that just shows that you're human. And I wish that more people would do it. We'd be in such a better place.
Chris, you are a highly emotionally intelligent person. And we are sitting in a space with probably people that are just like you. I need you and everybody else to back like a good 100 paces and check out what's going on outside here, outside the window. Right. So recognize what the average consumer, the average American citizen is aware of, and then where you are. Now you over here, okay? Up there. That's not where everybody is. All right. But I appreciate the optimism. And it takes a lot. Like if you're emotionally intelligent, if you're very self-aware, like Ron knows, I call myself on my BS every day. I was like, nope, that's rude. Don't say it.
We talk every day, y'all.
Talk every day. But you know what? You have to want to be more intelligent. You have to want to be better. You have to want to see the world through the eyes of folks who don't look like you. And everybody don't want that. Sometimes the fear is so intoxicating. It's the one thing is so comforting. God forbid that I get out and try something new. God forbid, right? That's a huge step.
Mimi says situational awareness. Yes, Gwendolyn. And so I see here we have Mr. B is in the building. What's going on, Mr. B? What do you have to say about this beautiful week that we've had of Kamala on stage making her case about being the next president of the United States of America?
Focus. I'm going to use my discipline, and I may sound like a broken record. She's doing what she is supposed to do. She's doing what she needs to do. And I continue. I'm in the weeds on some stuff, and I've been sharing with people my enthusiasm was strengthened shortly after she was at the top of the ticket when I learned of who joined the team. And this is like, I put like the Kamala Harris, future Madam President Kamala Harris. she's our quarterback. Think about it. Think about a football team. Most famous quarterbacks, people remember that quarterback. Rarely do people remember the tight end or whoever, the running back, who helped to get them to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. And when I discovered that they had brought this long-term advocate and one of the champions of President Obama's win of the White House to the team, I was like, "Yep." And I'm watching deja vu happen all over again. David Plouffe. Remember that name? I keep repeating.
Mr. Pluff.
Who the hell is David? I'm like,
he brought Obama over the lines twice.
Keep that's the name. And surprisingly, he started to do a couple of interviews here and there. That's why when I hear all these things of polls, I go to he's my sage. Why he matters? Let's go back in time, and I'm sorry, and this is kind of answer your question. Former President Obama, his campaign was truly one of the first that embraced technology with social media. That's because of David Plouffe. The re-election, David Plouffe. Kamala's game right now. I've repeated this before, and when I've gotten to be at some of these events where I'm able to talk one-on-one with not Kamala, but some people in her team, I'm like, whoever is in charge of y'all social media, they're on fire and they need a raise. Kamala HQ, IG,
yes,
they Johnny on
every day, all the time,
and David Plouffe is the architect of that. Since Obama's win, he has been in the shadows. People have constantly come after him to, hey, come and join Hillary's campaign. He was like, no, because he was like, I'm done with this. I'm cool just being a spokesperson here and there or whatever, paid speaker. The fact that they got this cat out of retirement, and he's not old. So that's one where I'm like, listen, follow some of these players that's behind the quarterback. The Fox interview, I watched that. I watched it live. And as our sister Gwendolyn said, I took my emotion out of it. I'm watching it. I was getting heated. There are some factual things like that mofo was highly disrespectful. She's a candidate, but she's our current sitting vice president.
There you go. Yes.
There's some pushbacks that I wish in my fairy tale world, I wish future Madam President Kamala Harris could have chimed in, but that was like a boxing match with a freaking raccoon. Him constantly saying in your administration, just subtlety of words. You have you got one shot at this. I sound like Eminem if you have one shot, but she had one shot. Subtleties of vocabulary and language. Actually, in our current administration, and she did say our, but she should have put words to it. I am the vice president right now. In current President Biden's administration, I serve at the pleasure of the president.
There you go.
So
I don't know, and this is what I don't understand why that she doesn't do it often. She doesn't do it, and very few people seem to be pushing that and say, "Wait a minute, she is not the president." I mean, we in the audience, we all saying it when they are talking it, but I think if she could add one more element to her stance, is that again, I'm here to serve the needs and the wishes of the president. I am not the president, but she did it subtle. She did it subtly yesterday on the Fox interview when he said, "When you with the border," and she says, "Our administration." He was putting the point on her, but she said, "Our administration tried to go on day one before we tackled any other bills or any other thing that was going when we took office. She kept saying we took office, we went after finding out how to deal with the border crisis, and we did not get cooperation. Here's something that Meek from Morning Joe, because I like to go. Morning Joe does such a great job with this, and you will be able to hear this. This is really good. It's gonna be a moment, but how they lay it out. And
where the Vice President of the United States wasn't really given the opportunity to respond. Here's how that played out.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you
now,
just a number? Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a
an
rough
immigration
estimate of
system
6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
Looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the. Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish.
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was the opening exchange, Mika. It went on like that for nearly 30 minutes. It goes without saying that Donald Trump would not be given the same treatments, talked over, not allowed to finish those questions. It doesn't mean the topics weren't fair. There was a lot in there that viewers wanted to hear from Kamala Harris. Why do you have different positions now than you did in 2019? How are you going to fix the...
So you see that, but again, he would have never did that to Trump. Never in his wildest dreams done what he did with Kamala, talking over her, rushing over the question, asking the question, but then as she's getting ready to answer it, give another question.
Right. Because she's not his homeboy.
And it was a railroad. It was railroading.
That's a Fox playbook.
That's a Fox playbook.
Not that I'm not in those Fox News streets a lot, but occasionally I do go.
Oh, you need to know. I think you need to know both sides. Yeah,
holding my hand over a flame to see how long I could take it. But that's one of their. There's one that's out of their playbook. Like, okay, ask a question, they start to answer, and if the answer is not to
to the liking,
base, like pepper another question and then another. It's like a Tommy gun, just. So
yeah, that was just one of my things, and I just sat there and said, "This is kind of." I mean, it was really ridiculous that, but at the end, she came in and she came in hard, and she let him know who was the VP and who was in charge, and she really let him have it. Which is, I'm trying to cue it up, but. Let me see if I can get it in there. Can I get that in there double time? Hold on a second. Okay, not there. Get these commercials. Hold on a second. So this was here's the other part of the Trump part. So let's go there. And then we'll talk about it. And there we go. I need an engineer, y'all. I need an engineer.
Issue of abortion, claiming it'll just work itself out. It'll be okay. You're good.
Now it's where everybody has wanted it for years, and now it's working its way out in the states. Nobody wanted it to be in the federal government. 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, they started talking about weeks and this and that. But what they wanted is they wanted it back in the states for a vote of the people. And that's why we have it. And the states are now voting for it. And honestly, some of them are going much more liberal, like in Ohio. I would have thought it might.
Some of them
be
are not
different, and some of them are not. But it's going to be redone. It's going to be redone. You end up with a vote of the people, and some of them I agree they're too tough, and those are going to be redone because already there's a movement in.
And again, you see that he is full of his word salad. Gwenda and I were talking about which has now been labeled the weave. I mean, so he's on these talk shows. The one with Bloomberg on the Bloomberg interview for economics, and every question that anchor person asked him, he never answered any of the questions.
No, trash.
Not one.
Short trash.
Never does.
Short trash.
He needs to have his.
It's called the weave, and so someone said, "I thought he was talking about what the weave was his hair, but the weave, this new thing he's giving it when he can't think things out. They calling it a strategy. It's called the weave.
Right. And the fact that he called himself the father of IVF.
Oh my God! I just thought the same thing. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up.
No, go. No,
yeah, Chris.
No, I mean, like some of these comments are just like liquid gold for Kamala. I mean, the fact that he sits up there and says these outrageous things, it's just like, what's going on? No, I honestly believe that I'm in a Superman movie and we're living on planet Bizarro. Seriously,
Bizarro.
Seriously, like the fact that he says these things and these people look at him and clap and cheer and be like, yes, like this country has a sickness and it's living in 50% of the people here.
Yes.
It really is.
Oh, it is.
And that is scary. That is scary. Because it's not just one man.
Place.
It's 50% of the population.
To Chris, to your point, and I think I've brought this up before, but this is one of the areas of discipline that I will repeat myself on. To make it plain, our last presidential election was the highest voter turnout in our country's history to that point. And President Biden got nearly 80 million. Convict Orange got over 72 million.
Yeah, he got 77, wasn't it?
No, there was a difference. There was a
77
million between. But my point, all total, looking at those numbers, that's about give or take 150 to 160 million people. Our country, I check the data often because I'm a nerd like that. The head count in our country as of March of this year is over 366 million Americans. So think about that number, 366 million Americans compared to at the last presidential election, which was the highest voter turnout so far at almost 160 million. That means, do the math. I know I jokingly say I don't do math. I went to art school. I'm a car designer, but that's some math that I can understand. And then to make it more plain, as I'm out here canvassing, knocking on doors, some neighborhoods I go through, it's literally like, I'm going to say Trump sign, Harris sign, Trump sign, Harris. Everyone around us is not for us. Think whether that's the teachers that are teaching our children. Xavier and I were at the library the other day. What's today? It was Tuesday. I did a double take. Woman had her 45, 47 red Make America Great hat again on. They are around, and which I don't know if this breaks a law or rule. She was the freaking librarian. So these are people that are around us.
They live among us, as I say all the time. They live among us, and I will always and again Rachel Maddow, she does a great job in teaching this history.
Yes.
Is that this is not the first time America has been here. America has, because of how America was founded, with crime, corruption, pillaging, raping, taking, all that stuff. And then there are people that were saying, this is not good. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be, invading indigenous people's lands. We should not have slavery. There's always been this push and pull among American society. Half of the society is totally against freedom, meaning they want authority over everything in their Christian nationalist view, which the country was founded upon. We can go into the doctrine another time. But this is it's a tug of war in our country of the people that want things to change and grow. And every time we've seen progress, there's always a backlash. So Obama becoming president, and I really do believe there could not have been a Trump without Obama.
Absolutely.
When Obama becoming president shook the core of white bigots, Christian nationalists, people that don't see America in its full potential of all of the people that live here. What makes us an amazing country is our diversity. We come from so many backgrounds. When you think about America, most of it, I mean, obviously we have the center of the country that's somewhat a little skewed, but most of the country is dynamically mixed. America represents every country, almost probably 99, 98% of every people on the planet. There's someone here. There's someone here from that little island in the Fugees. There's someone here in Africa that's some remote village. There's someone here that's in some remote village in Asia that is here. I mean, America has such diversity, but there are people that hate that thought.
There are a lot of people that
think
hate that
white
thought.
supremacy. They think white is it.
So they think, but you also, there's that group of people who think that proximity to white is it, which is
Well,
the biggest
other
problem.
story. Yeah, well,
Our biggest problem are those who look at the proximity to whiteness, and so that's why you have the biggest contrast, and that's why we can and see the person next door to you with a different thought or process. But that's our biggest problem. I was telling my husband last night, we all talk about the former president, but our biggest issue are the people who continue to prop him up.
Yes.
The ones who would go out and vote, the half of the population that's going to go out and vote for him. And then the ones who sit out. In that last election, it was over 70 million registered voters who did not vote. And then you think about a place like Louisiana where over 600,000 of them didn't vote, but they were registered, but they didn't vote. So we have problems of people who are being apathetic and just not doing. And then the ones who believe that this is proximity to whiteness. When I hear the Latinx community out here and they have signs, but they don't even know what DEI means, and that if they were hired, they'd be in the number. And then the fact that if he gets in and enacts the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, that they're going to be on the list. I think that's what people are missing. I think people in that large community, I was telling to the people in Michigan who want to go on this, let's make sure Kamala doesn't get Michigan. And I look at who they are, and they don't realize that they are alien enemies according to this man.
Yes.
And that one of the first things he's going to do is round you up.
Yeah.
And he's had a Muslim ban before. I don't want Muslim people to forget that. He's had that ban before. He's already promised that he's going to bring it back. And you're going to be, if not number one, number two on the list of alien enemies.
Yeah, the thing is that for I always say there's this is again, and I always bring it up about Harriet Tubman, and people say that, oh, she said this statement or she indicated this statement. She or you always hear the quote of, she says, I could have, they say, oh, Miss Harriet, you saved so many people. You are the Moses. You saved so many people. You kept going back to the South in all the danger and risking your life to rescue all of these slaves. And then she, in replies, so as Legendary says, I could have saved more if they only knew they were slaves. And there's a portion of all of our cultures, whether you're Hispanic or Black, or, and when I say Black, I mean obviously African. If you're African, you're Hispanic. There's a portion of all of our groups that don't see their enslavement. They think everything's okay. They think, long as I can go home and no one bothers me, I'm okay. They don't care about their neighbor, that they're going to come into their house, rip them from their family, but they'll say, I'm okay until it happens to them. And then when it happens to them, I mean, when you think about all the stories from the Holocaust, and you think about all of the people that were in Germany that were not Jewish, and their stories, and how they felt like, oh, it's just the Jews, it's not affecting me. Or you had the Jewish people that were rich and had money and had means, said, oh, it's just them, they're not going to attack us. There's something about the human species that never sees it coming. The ability to see forward and to be included in the number, right, that this can happen to me. When you think about, someone mentioned in a commentary about the 10 million people being rounded up and put in detention camps and sent away from America. First of all, logistically, that would be a nightmare. How do you round up 10 million people? And using the 1798 Act also means they are legal citizens. So how do you round up 10 million people without affecting 20 million people? Because every one of those people you're going to pull into a concentration camp, or put in, or get on a plane and put them on somewhere, or a boat, whatever, how you going to do it? That means that person's been ripped away from some loved ones, and it's not going to go over well. And I really believe, and it's just my thoughts, even when Kamala wins, because we've heard some of these Trump supporters, these mega people, saying, you know what, if Kamala wins, then we're going to have to go to some other measures. We've seen it. We've heard them say it in the interviews. We've seen them say that they want to do, as someone mentioned yesterday, Trump is seeding the grounds of this civil war idea. He's seeding the grounds. There's a portion of our population that thinks the only way to win is to destroy others. And I really believe America is going to go through some dark times, whether she wins. If she loses, we're in trouble. But if she wins, we're still in some trouble, because we're going to deal with all of these, I'm just going to call them wackos.
Can I add to that? And I made sure, as you were talking, I wrote it down.
What's that?
So I get, because I know, but 3 points to what you shared. The first one, which I've repeated before, and hopefully at the close of the discussion, you'll allow me to read the poem again from Martin Niemöller, who supported the Nazis in Germany, and then at the end realized what the hell, and he created that now famous poem of when they came for the socialists and so on.
Yes.
But that to the first point that you said that caught my ear was how are felt out. I'm trying not to disparage, but it's really hard not to when some of our fellow Americans, non-melanated and melanated, are voting against their own best interests. But when it comes to when this lens comes around to them and they realize, oh crap, I voted against. I wanted those illegals to leave, and I cringe when I hear that. But
I hate that
but
word,
it
illegals.
empowers them. How do you round up? The second point. How do you round up 10 million people? I mean, and I'm not going to belabor it, but I encourage people really do a deep dive in your own mind. Think like pulling a loose thread on a sweater. It's not just that one thread. Once you pull the whole thing, and think about the insanity of that, all that it's going to impact if that comes to fruition. You got to have people to get the supposed people who are here illegally. What does that do to our economy?
Yeah.
On
Yes.
and on.
Yes.
That part.
That's the point I wanted to make.
And
That
That's the big part.
perfect, Brian.
And the last one, which I think I mentioned this before in one of the conversations within the past couple of weeks or month or so. Since the beginning of this year, I've been rewatching The West Wing because I'm taking myself back to a happy place. But one of the catchphrases that I didn't realize was catchphrase in that Aaron Sorkin got from interviewing real presidents and staff of presidents. What's next? If you notice, they started the pilot episode with that and the final episode of that with President Bartlett and President Santos. And here's where I encourage people, think about this. Many of us were so focused on election day, whether she wins or loses. Either way, my thing is, what's next? MAGA is here. And even when she wins, it's that proverbial, the horse is out of the barn door. So it's going to take, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's going to take hopefully not a generation, because these are people who are being elected in positions. These are people that are in our school boards. These are people that are already in seats of power in our government at the federal level. You have election deniers. You have people who are congressmen and senators who are trying to thread the needle. I encourage people, go watch
I'm going to
the
interject.
debate between Colin Allred and Ted Cruz. That's enough. So that
you're not far-fetched, bro, is that it's going to take, I mean, you are right. I mean, it's going to take, we've been dealing with the Trump plague for 9 years. There are some people in our society, young people, that's all they know. They were brought up in this craziness. And that's all they don't even know what it is to have a normal government by our standards. They only know chaos.
Right.
So you have people that were 15 years old, 14 years old, 13 years old when Trump came down that golden escalator. And they've been persuaded that his way is right. Not only that, he became president. He put into federal lifetime appointments a lot of inexperienced, crazy judges around the country. And they are going to have to die out before their positions are up for a new selection. And this is what they were saying to the kids at the school. Roland Martin yesterday, he was at one of the colleges. kids can't see that their decision today at 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, how they vote in this election is going to affect them. If there's a Supreme Court justice that's put into office that's going to be young, 2 of them, what they estimate. If Trump wins and then there's 2 Supreme Court justices, or maybe 3, that are put in Trump in this next 4 years, they will not lose those 3 judges or 2 judges until every young person that's going to vote this election turns 60.
Right.
Think about
Absolutely.
that. So
Absolutely.
people need to start thinking about the Supreme Court and all of the federal courts and the appointments and all of the legislation that is going to be achieved or not achieved under this crazy person. We are fighting for our lives.
This is why we need reform when it comes to term limits, when it comes to the judiciary,
That's
and then
right.
also when it comes to Congress. There needs to be term limits. The same way that a president can only serve for 4 years, what gives these other branches the right to just be in office forever literally until they die out? There needs to be some type of restriction and regulations in place so that we can continue to move forward. Because right now, because a lot of these judges have lifetime appointments, we're stagnant. I mean, honestly, unless some of these Supreme Court justices, quote unquote conservatives, die, we're stuck with them for a while. I mean, it's so hard to make these changes.
We got 3 that Trump put into office. They're going to be there at least 30 years.
And and you have federal judges who are Reagan era appointees who are making these lower court decisions. Those federal decisions. They were appointed by Reagan. They 80,
Look at Clarence Thomas. Look at Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, and so you have to no one in this country should be in any position where there's no term limitation. And I include the House and the Senate. Everyone should have term limitations.
Yes.
No one should be able to die out in the office.
Exactly.
Because they've been there for 50 years and they just happen to die right before the election or whatever. No one should be there that long. Everyone should have term limitations. Of course, it takes them to decide they're going to get term limitations. Which the same thing we voted for term limitations in DC. They just went in council and overturned, voted against it. So, that part of it. And I think, going back to, I know Chris was thinking about the economy when you made the statement about the rounding up the people. And Jazzy pointed out that one of the problems they're having in Florida is you put these people out. Now you need them down there to build, and you're trying to get them to come back. They don't want to come back because your laws, you put the law in to keep them out, and they left. And that's what's going to happen. You round up 11 million people. It's not about 20 million more people. You're not talking about a total of 22 million people. You're talking about an entire country.
Yeah,
that's going to suffer because the economy of this country, when you do that, is going to collapse. Now, I'm gonna give you an example. Go to Springfield, Ohio, where these people are legally there. You take those Haitians out, the economy there collapses.
Yes, because they brought life to that economy.
They got there.
That's right.
And they built it up. They built it up to now. Property values have increased. The houses
they're taking in more tax revenue.
Yes, the jobs are being filled. You take them out, all of those things go away because you didn't want to have that. You didn't want to take the job before. You were sitting there on your SNAP benefits instead of being hired. Now you criticize them because they had $200 and some of SNAP benefit while they were being qualified to get these jobs. And once those jobs, they started building up your community. And if you take those people out of the community, then that's what happened. And when you start talking about how you do it, you don't know who's from Venezuela, Ecuador. You don't know any of these things. All you know is they're from the Latinx community. So round them all up.
Just round them up.
And then we'll sort that out later. And they came from X country. That's a big thing. And how many people think they're going to really take the time to sort that out?
They're not. Think about all the children that still haven't found their parents from the last roundup.
Right.
But anyway, Brian, I'm gonna leave you with you sharing your famous writing, and we're gonna close out because Ron has to go to get his health. Well, I need to go get my physical, so I gotta
I
run
know
out.
why that lingering cough is still there.
Yes, gotta get my physical.
Oh,
And so, but guys, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much, and I appreciate every one of you. And Elise, where can people find you?
At SALIEZE _ on Instagram.
Gwendolyn,
GR Houston Jack on YouTube and Black Power Bunny on Instagram.
Chris,
Constantly _ changing the number 4 me on all my socials.
okay, and Brian, you share your quote. Share what you're gonna share because that is a good share.
Again, I'm sharing for those that aren't aware. Martin Niemöller, he was actually a pastor or a priest, if I'm not mistaken, in my history. In Germany, he initially supported Hitler and the Nazis, but then when when the atrocities towards the Jew started happening, he woke up out of the cult, and he penned this famous, now famous quote or poem that I've been reciting to many as to why I'm voting for Kamala Harris and why I'm out here knocking on doors, and even from my hospital bed was doing phone banking. And I just want people to internalize this to them. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. I repeat that. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me.
Mm.
So just because I'm not a woman, but I care about a woman's right to privacy. That's what the whole issue with abortion, non-abortion. It's not about that. Historically, it's about the right to privacy. Go study Roe v. Wade.
Right.
I'm not in the LGBTQ plus community, but I love my LGBTQ plus community. I have family members, real and my social family members here. I can go on and on that list. And if I don't speak up for those around me, who's going to be there to speak up for me?
So Ron,
Thank
just
you.
one quick statement. This is not long. So, the former presidents get ready to speak at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Everyone go look up Madison Square Garden from the 1930s when the neo-Nazis spoke.
Yes.
He is getting ready to imitate. He's going to emulate what happened then. That's why Madison Square Garden is a choice for him on, I believe, October 27th.
Yes. It is
So
the anniversary.
Look that past performance that was happening during the World War II times. Like, go look it up and see what he's getting prepared to do. And every white supremacist group is going to be there.
Yes. At Madison Square Garden here in New York, the anniversary of America's participation, or those that wanted to participate in the Nazi movement.
Yes.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and we will see each other tomorrow. Tomorrow's our Focus Friday. We will be here, and I love it that we all get together. This is great. This community, we're ready for prime time, y'all. We are prime time. Take care, guys. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share. Can I give you a homework? Everyone that's watching, share this platform with 10 other people. That's your homework for tonight. Share us with 10 other people. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.